Namaste, greetings, and welcome back to my this episode where I am going to talk about small scale PPPs, which are panacea for the development of rural infrastructure, including the infrastructure of small towns. And I am Dr. Naresh Bana, and let's look at the news which appeared yesterday. Morgan Stanley has announced that there will be more expenditure on rural infrastructure development. Before we discuss that, let's have a look at a typical rural scene in India. See the vast greenery and this small hamlet ensconced in the greenery with little or no urban amenities. Former President of India, Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, in his Vision 2020, articulated the need of having three connectivities, that is, physical connectivity by way of roads, and electronic connectivity to bring the internet, and thereby creating knowledge connectivity. While physical connectivity is more or less there, the electronic connectivity is deficient, due to which knowledge connectivity remains inadequate. As I said, almost all 638,000 villages stand connected, but to provide urban facilities, we need much more than roads. There are funds, but there is lack of will to decide or absence of people to deliver projects, due to which year after you see either lapsing the funds or funds are rolling over. One of the suggestions which is frequently floated is that the projects can be done on PPP mode. So, what is this PPP mode? Let's understand. The PPP mode is when the project based on contract or a long term concession agreement between a government or statutory entity on the one side and the private sector company on the other side. And they join hands for delivering infrastructure services on payment of user charges. Most of you have seen the PPP format based delivery of national highways and expressway network of India and overseas, the airport development, seaports, railway, metro, solar, all type of energy projects, water supply, wastewater treatment, healthcare, education, and tourism. Yes, tourism also is being developed on PPP format. In fact, rural tourism has much more to offer. Have a look at the rural tourism clip.
India, a land of cultural plurality, and tourism has emerged as one of the key drivers of economic growth. Rural tourism is regarded as a highly effective approach to benefit rural areas by boosting their earnings and preserving regional art forms.
So, most of the projects we have just mentioned are taken up by established big promoters or big companies. You may ask, can those be done at smaller scale? Which scale? In South Asia's context, we possibly can say that a project less than 12 million US dollars could be called a small or a very small project, which can be done on PPP mode and delivered in a design, build, finance, own and operate model. But then, can the people from smaller towns or villages take up such projects? It appears so. I have done a small SWOC analysis. Now, strength of these people lies in the kind of work they are already undertaking. Agriculture and the related business activities are fraught with risks, and still they produce their own output and run the show. So that means they have the capacity to take business risks. What they lack is the modern format of business, that's setting up or doing business through pri- private limited companies, public limited companies, or LLPs. There is huge opportunity of infrastructure creation alone. So opportunity exists, but the risk of failure remains due to lack of capacity or lack of support or corruption or all. Now, let me take you to the success story of a similar village based entrepreneur who have made it big, Mr. Sridhar Vembu.
We are now in Tenkasi, a small town about 500 to 600 kilometers away from Chennai and Bangalore, two prominent SaaS hubs of India. Amid scenic waterfalls and artistic temple, which Tenkasi is known for, lies Zoho's office spread across 15 acres of land. This is fast becoming a global tech hub. They started off in 2011 as a vision to build global products from India's rural hamlets. Today, the firm employs more than 800 people. Can this Tenkasi model be taken across India? What does it take?
Yes, such models can be replicated not only in India but around the world and certainly in South Asia. There is a need to capitalize on such trends and rope in all those who have done well from those specific areas, rope in the diaspora. It would be then that PPP for small and micro projects will become an enabler and not just another scheme providing facilities in villages. Remember, unless we ensure the major chunk of fortune at the bottom of pyramid is earmarked for local participation, it may not be truly inclusive or sustainable development. Now, the challenges which appear in undertaking such a elaborate exercise is firstly the lack of capacity, not only with the people who will take up this project but with the public authorities who cannot prepare such biddable projects in that large numbers or monitor those thereafter. The financial viability of the project remains a key concern and would need viability gap funding as it is being done for the bigger projects. There's a need to have well-trained project team to ensure project is completed in time with right quality and quantity. And there is a need to have equipment banks because for small projects, equipment ownership becomes very costly and may not be viable. So it should be possible for the project developers to take equipment on rent and deliver the project. Corruption has to be weeded out, law and order has to improve, and dispute redressal mechanism has to be of best order. Now, roads are one of the most common asset which can be delivered through the public-private partnership model. Optical fiber connectivity, which is so crucial and critical today, we are happy to note that many of the clusters of the villages have been connected by the optical fiber, but most of it is not being used adequately. So, there is a scope for developing public private partnerships if the fiber exists to deliver the downstream services, or if the fiber itself is not there, then to lay down the fiber and other connectivities. Let me show you uh, a solar project from one of the villages in Rajasthan. That is Amit. Amit has set up this solar project, 1.5 hectares of the land, where 2 megawatt capacity has been set up under a government scheme, and he's earning more than 200 times than what was being earned earlier. Now imagine if you are in a place where there is no ATM and you have to draw cash, because most of the ATMs run by the banks, towns or tier 2 cities. So there is a case for white label ATMs across the board wherever they are needed, and that could be developed and rolled out under PPP format. Rural business parks, which could not only be place for doing business of all types, but also there could be incubation centers supported by the government for the rural youth to set up their business at least overheads and move forward with the development. Skill development centers. Now there are skills, hard skills and soft skills. For both, the centers can be set up. Then there are primary healthcare centers, secondary healthcare centers, which can again be rolled out under public private partnership format. And these small projects can be done by the local people, local entrepreneurs who are otherwise having minimum capital to take up these projects under project financing format. Animal healthcare is very much in need of the hour, because if the cattle based economy is given sufficient support, it has the capacity to increase yield by almost 30%, which would that thereafter add to the national growth or the overall growth of the region. Crop healthcare and agriculture support, again, there is a huge scope for public private partnerships, whether it is for equipment hire or for crop health, pesticides, fertilizers, spraying, or pre-harvest, post-harvest support. Whole lot of uh, scope of public private partnerships exist. Let me show you an agriculture drone in action. This drone takes much less time and carries large tanks to spray the fertilizer using almost 20% of the water requirement, and generates 30% better yield. The fisheries are another sector which can benefit hugely with the public private partnership, and a big difference can be made in their support, whether it is support to the boats or support to the marketing or all type of supports which a fisheries harbor may need. The warehousing remains an important facet of rural infrastructure, where there is a strong case for public private partnership. Here is one of such uh, cold storage for you to see. It's constructed in 2.5 acres with entirely modern systems and using state of the art dockings and trucks and racks for keeping the commodities inside. As the development takes place, water supply and sewage treatment would also be an integral part of rollout of provisioning of urban amenities in rural areas, and those also can be offered on public private partnership mode. Now all these projects require land, and having local stakeholders can substantially remedy this problem. The new businesses may get land and buildings without delay if they involve local people and integrate them on lease or equity basis participation. It may lead to wealth creation and employment generation at village level for landed people as well as for landless. Now, as flagged earlier, capacity building of public officials at city municipal to enable small entrepreneurs work in corporate mode is the most critical issue. Internet remains a powerful tool for capacity building and rolling out of various services. So, such endeavor, if taken in right earnest, can surely unleash the entrepreneurial capacity of Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities and towns and rural folk for development of essential infrastructure. It would not only provide them better life, but jobs near their homes, leading to reduction of population migration to cities and achieving inclusive development and sustainable development goals. And I must give credit to the media where I have made references to. With that, I come to the end of today's episode. Thank you for watching and keep viewing till I come back with yet another interesting episode. Thank you very much. Namaste and have a nice day.